Welcome to the Show Day podcast. Today is July 16th, 2019. Last night was one of the most thrilling nights so far with results on the DCI tour. We saw 3 shows, and really the big event of the night was Drums Across Kansas in El Dorado, where we saw Blue Devils versus Santa Clara Vanguard, and then also the Blue Knights, Cadets, Mandarins, and Crossmen also at that show. Extremely interesting, not only results, but changes to shows and things that have been documented on numerous social media sites also happened last night. So the big pinpoint of last night was El Dorado, and now tonight we have the biggest show of the season so far. So we go from that biggest show of the season to this biggest show of the season tonight, DCI Broken Arrow. So I'll cover last night's results and then take a look ahead at tonight. So we had 2 other events last night aside from Drums Across Kansas. We had Brass Impact in Olathe, Kansas, the Guardians and Colt Cadets here on the open class side of things. Not a whole lot to talk about on the recap sheets. You see the Guardians win general effect of 24-7 to a 23.1. Visual, it's a 17.7 to a 16.25. And then over in music, when we look at the overall music total, a little less than those two. It's 1.1, 17.2 to a 16.1. Overall scores, 59.6 for the Guardians, a 55.45 for the Colt Cadets. Really, when we look at this, things have changed. The Guardians have had built an identity for themselves, and they were playing this. I guess you could call it pop music, and not the traditional drum corps show. Let's put it that way. And they were scoring somewhat well. They were scoring top 10 at Open Class Championships. Not saying they're not going to score in top 10, I'm sure they will, but they were working their way up. I believe they finished, I want to say, 7th last year. And now this season they've taken that identity away, and they're doing this show called Unpeeled that really has nothing to do with that, the identity part. And they're not scoring so well. They're at 60 pretty much. Another show as they go down the Texas tour. They're in Belton and in San Antonio. They'll be at 60, but still, I'd like to see more from them. And then when we look at the Colt Cadets, they're also getting better. Not maybe on the score sheets. I'm sure they're getting better by a few points or a few tenths of a point, but they are definitely performing better, at least from what I could tell from, I believe I've seen them 2 or 3 times now. They're definitely performing better than they have been in the past, and they've done a whole lot of shows too. They've done, I want to say, 12 shows, somewhere definitely close to the double digits now. And after last night, they're now off until Saturday the 27th, that is. They're in Oskaloosa, Iowa, so we'll see how they blend in with everyone else there. When we look at world class in Olathe, not a whole lot here. We do see the first meeting between Colts, Pacific Crest, and the Troopers at this one. Some interesting stuff does come from that, but not a whole lot changing placements, at least in general effect and music. When we look at general effect, we also had the Bluecoats here, 35.6. Great score for them in general effect. Then we look at the Colts, Pacific Crest, and Troopers. Colts at a 29.9, 5/10 above Pacific Crest for second, Pacific Crest third, and then the Troopers down with a 28.5. And I have to agree with their general effect score right now, the Troopers, because when you think, I always like to think of general effect like if I had to explain it to somebody without getting into all the nitty gritty of like one judge examines visual, one examines music, and all that. It's how well are you telling the story and how well's like the story being presented. I guess those are the two of the same thing. But the Troopers and something I'll touch on a little later with a post I made on my website with season reviews, of course, so far. What I wrote for the troopers is the show makes no sense. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if it's talking about a topic in society. I don't know if it's talking about like actually like literal beyond boundaries, like out of the world kind of thing. That's what I'm leaning towards with what I've seen, like reading about the show a little bit, but still, they got a long way to go with general effect to even climb up a few spots. And then when we look at visual, everybody stays steady here. We've got a 26.6. Remember, that's out of 30 for the Bluecoats. 22.6 for the Colts, 5/10 above Pacific Crest at a 22.1. And then Troopers once again struggling visual at a 21 even. In music, we have the Bluecoats on top, obviously, 26.2. Very close scores across the board here when you narrow it all down. So 26.2 in music, that is. Colts, let's kind of dig into this a little bit now. Brass, the Colts at a 15.7, Pacific Crest at a 15.3, and the Troopers at a 14.9. When you look at analysis, Pacific Crest is actually above the Colts, and you got them at a 14.8, the Colts at a 14.6, and the Troopers down at a 14.2. Then when we look at percussion, this is where the Troopers are strong, and another thing I touched on that blog post that I'll talk about at the end of the show today is that the Troopers' percussion historically as well, you've got Paul Rennick, you've got Sandy Rennick, you've got a good music staff, and that shows on this recap here a 14.8, beating the Colts and Pacific Crest in percussion. The Colts get third at a 14.6 and Pacific Crest fourth at a 14.2. Looking at overall music, you've got Colts 22.45, Pacific Crest 22.15, and the Troopers at a 21.95. When we look at overall totals, you've got Bluecoats 88.4, very good score for them, actually match the Blue Devils score, which I'll talk about in a minute. The Colts at a 74.95, Pacific Crest at a 73.65, and Troopers a 71.45, definitely hurting in visual and general effect. Here's the big show last night, Drums Across Kansas, El Dorado. Very, very, very interesting, and just across the board. Maybe not necessarily placement-wise, but margin-wise and everything. And yes, really placement-wise, it does get very, very interesting. Let's look at general effect first, okay? Vanguard, let's put them above the Blue Devils at a 35.6 to a 35.5. Vanguard, if you've not seen the photo so far, I encourage you to check it out on Twitter, Instagram. It's like everywhere this morning. And that is of what their new set looks like on the field. There's, I'm going to say, around 10 tarps on the field, circular tarps all around. There's a huge one on the 50-yard line. If you remember the Troopers show a few years ago, I believe it was called Duels and Duets. It's very reminiscent of that, with those circular tarps that kind of are placed strategically around the field. And what Michael Gaines, of course, one of their visual designers, wrote this morning was something to the effect of, finally the audience gets to see how the show was designed. And really what I think he's meaning by that is that this show was designed with the tarps in mind, and they've not been able to do that yet. And now with the addition of that, Vanguard now, I've been saying, and many others have been saying, that if they're going to make a run at the championship, they're going to have to do something. And I think they've done it. So, anyway, just a little bit of background knowledge on them from last night. So they're a 10th ahead of the Blue Devils in general effect. The Cadets, they jumped the Blue Knights in general effect, a 33.3 to a 33.1. Mandarins in 5th, a 32.4, and the Crossmen in 6th with a 32 even. Moving to visual proficiency straight as is. Analysis, pretty straight, with the exception of the Crossmen doing very well. So you've got the Blue Devils 17.8, Vanguard 17.7. Then you have to go down to third at a 16.9 for the Crossmen. Fourth at a 16.6 is the Blue Knights. Fifth, the Cadets, a 16.4, and the Mandarins a 16.2. Over in color guard, Blue Devils win by just a half, or just a tenth, that is. 17.6 to a 17.5 for Vanguard. Third place in color guard, which is very surprising, honestly, is the Cadets, because they've struggled in color guard this year. Fourth, the Crossmen. Color guard's been one of their best captions, so they're fourth. Fifth is the Mandarins, and sixth is the Blue Knights, so they're struggling in color guard. When we look at visual, Blue Devils 26.6, Vanguard 26.35, Blue Knights 24.65. They tie with the Cadets for third. Fifth goes to the Crossmen 24.55, and the Mandarins in sixth, the 24.3. That is. Looking over at music, then a lot to cover here because a lot of placement jumps and stuff as well. So you got brass, you've got Vanguard a 17.6 to a 17.4 for the Blue Devils. Vanguard wins brass. Third place in brass goes to the Blue Knights at a 16.7. Big margin then between them and the Mandarins. Mandarins at a 16.3, actually jumping the Cadets in brass. Cadets at a 16.1, and the Crossmen in sixth at a 15.9. Music analysis, Blue Devils at an 18 even. Keep in mind that's out of 20. Very, very good score there. Vanguard close to that 18 mark as well, 17.7. And the Blue Knights are also very close there, 17.4. Cadets also breaking 17, has 17.1. Mandarins fifth at a 16.6. And Crossmen finished sixth in music analysis at a 16.4. In music percussion, you've got Vanguard on top, which is not a surprise to anyone really. 17.5 to 17.2. Blue Knights third at a 17 even. Very, very good percussion score. Just half of a point behind Vanguard. Very good for them. Cadets 16.87 tenths back. They can, I'm not going to say make it up, but they can get closer. Mandarins fifth then, 16.2. Crossmen 16.1. Overall music, you've got Vanguard jumping the Blue Devils by a tenth of a point, 26.4 to 26.3. Blue Knights are in third at a 25.55. That's within a point of Vanguard. Very important to keep in mind because the Blue Knights, I'm not ready to rule them out of getting up with the Cavaliers. If they can fix some of that visual stuff, they can get up there. But they've also got to get past the Blue Stars first as well and keep the Cadets off. So Blue Knights are really one of the cores in the midst of everything right now. Cadets also breaking 25 in music, 25 even. Mandarins 24.55 and Crossmen 24.2. Looking at the overall totals, last time we saw the Blue Devils and Santa Clara Vanguard together was San Bernardino, California on June 30th. The final score margin there was the Blue Devils by half of a tenth of a point. What do we see in El Dorado? Blue Devils by half of a tenth of a point. Very, very, very close. And this could also be Vanguard's got to settle in with that new design on the field. Blue Knights third at an 83.3. Cadets fourth, 82.95. Still just a pretty small margin there, 3.5 tenths. Mandarins fifth, 81.25. And Crossmen in sixth with an 80.75. So after that very hectic El Dorado show, let's take a look at music on the move. This was in Bentonville, Arkansas. Not too much here. Crown ran away with everything, as expected. 34.5 in general effect. Academy second, a 29.7. They're 7 tenths above Madison Scouts there. They scored 29 even. Music City within a point, 28.2. And then Jersey Surf in fifth at a 26.9. Over in visual, everybody places as they finish. Crown 25.85 for first, Academy second with a 22.45, Madison 22 even for third, Music City in fourth with a 20.8. Visuals really been one of their struggle areas this season, and then Jersey Surf getting within just a few tenths of Music City there with a 20.25. When we look at the music caption, you've got Crown on top in brass 17.3 to the Academy's 15 even, they should say. Madison only 4 tenths back there, and then Music City 5 tenths behind Madison. Jersey Surf struggling a bit, but still only 7 tenths behind Music City. The only thing we see on this whole recap that has a core placing above another core is the Madison Scouts and the Academy here in percussion. You've got the Madison Scouts up on the Academy 15.1 to a 14.8. Music City with a 14.4 and Surf at a 14.1. Overall music totals, you have Crown at a 26 even, Academy 22.4, Madison Scouts at a 22.15, Music City scores a 21.3, and Jersey Surf at 20.45. Overall totals, Crown at an 86.35, actually go down from their score from Memphis. Academy is 74.55. Madison Scouts a 73.15, that is. Music City is 70.3, and Jersey Surf a 67.6. So after all that, lots of cores competed last night. You can see on the World Class Leaderboard here when the cores' most recent score was. Most of the cores competed last night. And if they didn't compete last night, everyone competed on the 14th, with the exception of Genesis and the Seattle Cascades, who had competed Genesis Friday, and Seattle Cascades have not competed since last Wednesday. At the top, Bluecoats tied with the Blue Devils. They scored the same exact score last night. And I know I've been saying over the past few days, yes, we thought this season was going to be ultra competitive. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it is. Bluecoats, Blue Devils, Vanguard. We see them tonight in Broken Arrow. I'll talk about that show in a minute. Taking a look ahead to tonight, and I don't know how they're going to finish. Vanguard can win. Bluecoats can win. Blue Devils can win. Vanguard can get third. Blue Devils can get third. Bluecoats can get third. Like, I have no clue how that's going to finish. You also have the Boston Crusaders. Their score from Sunday night tops that of Crown's from last night. Just something to keep in mind there. I personally think Boston might have fourth right now, but I think Crown's definitely, those two cores are definitely going to go at it for the rest of the season. Cavaliers, they can keep going the right direction, but they need to watch from behind, because you're going to see the Blue Knights come up there. You're going to see the Blue Stars come up there. Not sure they can pass the Cavaliers, but they sure can give them a run for their money. Blue Knights 7th, Cadets 8th, Blue Stars 9th currently. We see them against the Cadets tonight. Mandarins, Crossman, Phantom rounding out finals. Then you've got those first three out are Spirit, Colts, and the Academy. On the open class side of things, we only saw the Guardians and Colt Cadets last night, so not a whole lot changed. We see a lot of cores in action between tomorrow, Wednesday, and Augusta, a big show in North Jersey. And really, the end of the weekend, we see a bunch of California cores wrap up their season, or just wrap up this part of their season. We see 7th Regiment return to action. We've got the Guardians down in Belton. Really a lot going on the open class side of things this weekend coming up. So tonight, DCI Broken Arrow in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. This is presented by the Drums of Summer. This event is run both by DCI, but also by the Broken Arrow band, one of the best marching bands in the nation. Finished 4th at Grand Nationals last year, won the St. Louis Super Regional. Really, their show last year, the United States of America, was one of my favorites. So just wanted to put that out there about this show tonight and where it is. So when the schedule came out, and I kind of looked through everything, and I was making the season previews and doing the season previews, those season preview podcasts, I had this show circled from the very beginning. I said, if there's one show that is going to tell us everything we need to know before San Antonio, it is DCI Broken Arrow on July 16th. And I remember saying, oh, it's so far away. Yeah, it's today. So this one will get underway 7:30 Central Time. Welcome to National Anthem. Then we've got 6 world-class scores before the intermission. We have Phantom Regiment, we have the Blue Stars, the Cadets, Carolina Crown, the Boston Crusaders, and the Cavaliers. There will be an intermission at 9:22, and then after intermission, we've got Santa Clara Vanguard, we've got the Blue Devils, we've got the Bluecoats, and also something I want to talk about in just a minute is the Sound Sport team, Zephyrus. This is their first ever performance for a audience, or at least a DCI audience, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if anyone does get a video of them. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're gonna do, because the first key to really having this sound sport thing work for these groups, at least how I see it, is that you have to kind of have a good foundation under you, and also look like you're doing the right things. And I saw their uniform reveal, and it is nice. So they looks like we have a new sound sport team in Oklahoma, and they look to be doing good things. When we look at the world class lineup here, you've got the top 8 from last year, plus you add in Phantom Regiment, so that's 9 of the top 11 from last year. Very, very good show tonight in Broken Arrow. What are we looking for? Everything. Every result from this show matters. You've got the Bluecoats, Blue Devils, Vanguard. Whoever wins tonight probably won't win in their next meeting, and whoever wins that won't win in their next meeting. So who knows how these three will come out of tonight looking. Boston Crusaders versus Crown once again. That's going to be very interesting. You got the Cavaliers, and then you've also got the Cadets and Blue Stars. First meeting of the season since very early tonight. Today's question of the day is who will place first at DCI Broken Arrow? I'd love to hear what you guys think, because I honestly have no idea. If I had to say who's in the best situation right now to win tonight, I'm gonna say it's either the Blue Devils or Bluecoats, but Vanguard sure could get it done as well. I'm leaning towards the Bluecoats right now because I feel like the Blue Devils still got some stuff to add in right now. So thank you for watching. Just a few things. Make sure to visit my website, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, for all the latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours, scores, schedules, leaderboards, and more can all be found in my own personal website about all things drum corps. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Drumcore Geek, and subscribe to the Show Day podcast on YouTube, where this podcast and more will be posted. Finally, leave your thoughts in the comments sections. Questions, input, comments, etc. would all be greatly appreciated. So thank you for watching. Just one other thing here, and that is check out my website. I've got an extra incentive for you to do that now, is go onto the Show Day podcast blog. You can find it at the top of the page. And that I've started to post my thoughts about some of these cores this season. I posted part 1 featuring a few cores yesterday, 6 cores. I'll post another 6 cores soon, today, if not today, definitely tomorrow. So just kind of putting my thoughts out there about the shows, weaknesses, strengths that cores have currently. So just an added piece there. So thank you for watching the Show Day podcast today. Have a great rest of your day, and tonight's results make for an extremely interesting tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.